we're going to hear from Dr. Royal, who's new to us now, Dr. Mike Royal, and he's from a company called Sorrento, and they have a new drug that they're going to be, either they're going to be or they're in clinical trials about. I think we'll find out from Dr. Royal exactly what's going on. I understand it's similar to daratumumab, and it's designed for people who don't respond well to daratumumab, or maybe it's a competitor. We love that. That'll keep the prices down. So take it away, Dr. Royal.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Muriel. I'm going to share my screen so you don't have to look at my head in front of the palm tree. Okay, so thank you again. Just in the way of disclosure, I'm the Chief Medical Officer at Sorrento Therapeutics, as you can see there.
You're a lawyer and a doctor?
Yeah, don't hold it against me, though. Everyone here in the company makes fun of me because I don't have a PhD. So, you know, that's a running joke here. But we are a company that is in San Diego is where our headquarters currently resides, but we are in a number of locations in the United States and also in China. So we have roughly 500 people spread around, but the majority, including most of the research and development efforts, are in San Diego, where we have a number of manufacturing facilities. Since we're involved in quite a bit of stuff, including, like many other companies, COVID-19, both therapeutics and diagnostics, a lot of cancer-related work, and even cancer-related pain management work. So quite a bit of activity, thanks to all of the very smart people that work behind the scenes in our research and development department. Let's talk about the product that we have. Everyone has been noticing that in situations of DARA resistance or daratumumab resistance, there really aren't a number of therapeutic options. And what we have is a CD38-based antibody drug conjugate. And what that means is, if you look at the little picture in the bottom left, we have a proprietary technique where we can covalently bind a toxin inside the antibody itself. And this is a fully human antibody that we make actually in San Diego. And it is, you know, slightly different in that the toxins are bound internally in the antibodies so that they're less likely to fall off. In our preclinical studies, we haven't seen much in the way of release of the toxin in the bloodstream. So we hope that based on our, again, preclinical studies, that we'll see less toxicity. And in addition, because our CD38 antibody binds to different locations than DARA, we also hope that we may be able to avoid some of the toxicity from traditional CD38 monoclonal antibodies. The toxin that we're referring to is called duostatin, and it basically is incorporated into the plasma cells, or myeloma cells, if you will, and it prevents replication in a sense, so that the cell over time dies. And so this is a targeted therapy where it's kind of like the CD38 hunts for its target, and then it gets internalized into the cell and then releases the toxin. On the right side, we took myeloma cells as just an example from a number of patients and tested them, of course, outside the patient. And what we found was in those who are daratumumab resistant, we were able to get substantial efficacy represented by cell death of the targeted cells. So this was very promising, and we're in the process of trying to kick off our clinical study, which has been somewhat slow going because of COVID. But in a bit, I'll show you the locations where we're currently getting up and running, looking for our first patient. Just as an example, I've talked about this a little bit, but you can see perhaps that the ADC binds to the target antigen or the targeted location on the cell. It gets internalized, and once inside the cell, it releases the toxin. And over time, as a result of that, it causes programmed cell death, sometimes called apoptosis, of the cell itself. So this is more of a targeted therapy. Hopefully, we can show this in our first clinical trial, where we can deliver a payload specifically designed to kill the targeted plasma cells. So the study is going on at a number of centers, as you see. Dr. Lynch at Columbia, Sanchirwala at Boston Medical, Rosenzweig at City of Hope, Dr. Zonder at Karmanos, and Dr. Leitke at Stanford. We have a number of other sites that are in process as well. And of course, we're always looking to add new sites as we get going. This is an initial human study, ascending dose. FDA cleared us to proceed, but wanted little baby steps to make sure that we can avoid any untoward safety events. I put the NCT number for the clinicaltrials.gov site there for more information. My email is there for those who are interested, and our company website is there. I didn't want to give much other information other than that to say that we're very interested in targeting patients who are relapsing or having recurrent AL amyloidosis, particularly those who are DARA resistant. So we hope to bring what we think will be a very promising treatment to all of you in the near term. So we'll work with FDA and the clinical sites and hopefully be off and running if the COVID gods ever let us move forward. So that was pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I just want to again thank you all for this opportunity and look forward to working with you in the near future.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and it's always good to have a new drug, especially for those that have not had much success with the previous drugs in the armory. So I see that, okay, that Dr. Zonder and Dr. Leitke are on there. So Dr. Gertz, a question for you. Is this something that's going to be at the Mayo Clinic?
So I have a conflict of interest. I'm data safety monitoring board for this trial. And so Sorrento will need to approach other members of Mayo Clinic independent of me. Gotcha.
Okay, and Dr. D'Souza, do you see this as a future ear joint?
Yes, we are always looking to provide access to patients to newer treatments. So would definitely be open in hearing more and maybe connecting with Mike separately.
And Dr. Painter, what about you?
Absolutely. It sounds like a very promising drug, and we'd be very happy and almost obliged to bring it to Chicago.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
Look forward to talk some more.
Okay, so and for all the people that are watching this, all of the patients and caregivers, loved ones, if this is something that you want your doctor to take part in, would they just notify you, Dr. Royal, that to call their doctor, or how would they do that?
Yeah, that would be a starting point, and then we would direct them to the closest location where we have a site becoming active. I must admit it has been very slow going because of COVID, causing havoc at a number of the hospitals. But we keep pushing forward, and hopefully very soon we'll be active at a number of centers across the United States to make it easier on patients.
Okay, and do you pay for their airfare and their hotel and all that other good stuff related to going to a center and going on the trial?
We do have accommodations for reasonable travel expenses. it would be better if they didn't have to fly to a location. We're trying to make sure we have adequate numbers of locations across the United States to make it convenient to patients. But the travel expenses are likely to exclude air travel, unfortunately, but everything else, of course, is covered.
Okay, so if they rent an RV, do you cover the rental for the RV?
Yeah. I don't know about that, but that's something that each site can make a determination on. And then obviously we work with the sites to try to accommodate patients as much as we can.
Okay, and how many more sites are you looking to open up?
Well, actually quite a few, because while this is an initial safety study, if you want to call it that, FDA has asked us to take baby steps in increasing the doses slowly. There are a number of other antibody drug conjugates that are currently approved for other conditions other than amyloidosis. And because they have not been designed in the same way, they release the toxin prematurely and has caused some toxicity, particularly to eyes. And so FDA has been a bit sensitized to that and has asked to take our time in increasing the dose. But once we establish a dose that seems to be effective, we intend to do a larger expansion cohort. And to do so, we would require more trial sites. So, and then obviously, once we hopefully show benefit in DARA resistance, we will go forward with hopefully an expedited approval process and do a much larger study, and then work with investigators for other types of combination treatments should they choose to do that.
Wonderful, thank you so much.